All right, peace and blessings, family. This is another episode of the Conscious Couple Podcast. I'm Mike Jones.
And I'm Cheryl Jones, and this is where we come to have healthy conversations for the conscious mind.
That's right, family. And just a little bit about Cheryl and myself. We are personal trainers, health coaches, nutritionists, and entrepreneurs. We have the largest pole fitness studio here in Phoenix, Arizona called Purple Palace Pole Studio. We also have a national fitness brand that we call Rhythm Rumble Workout and a holistic nutrition line called Body Natural Nutrients. If you want to get any information or any more information on our businesses, check out the links in the description below.
Yes, and just to give a little background about the podcast, the Conscious Couple Podcast, one of the things that Mike and I realized after being in the service business industry for so long, the fitness industry that is that communication is everything.
Yes.
And the better your communications, the better your relationships in your life.
Right.
And this is really important because our relationships shape who we are. And when you have healthy relationships, the healthier we show up in the world for ourselves as well as for each other. But one of the things that we also want to point out is that communication takes work. It takes work. And one of the things that is really challenging sometimes when it comes to men and women is that we see things from a different lens.
Yes.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But the challenge comes when we do not always create the space for us to just be able to really hear, accept, respect, and just value each other's differences. So that was one of the things that really motivated Mike and I to start this podcast so that we can create that space and just start to close some of those gaps that really kind of keep us divided due to our lack of communication.
Yes, and different experiences. And also, let me add, to create more productive discussion and productive conversation on a lot of the issues that we deal with, because we noticed that there just was a lack of productivity or productive discussions being had.
I'm glad you said that because I do want to put that in there also.
Yeah.
To elevate the discussion.
Yes.
Right. To elevate the discussion so we can have healthy dialogue with real solutions.
Right.
So that's the Conscious Couple Podcast, and so today I just really want to get into it.
Okay.
We've got a lot to talk about, and it never feels like enough time. Right. Okay, so I just want to kind of bring everybody up to speed for those of us who may not be familiar with what's going on right now, what's been trending. Of course, last week was the Oscars,
right?
And Ciara showed up basically naked, right? And of course, everybody's been talking about it ever since. And why Mike and I thought that it would be a good topic for us to discuss is because we are technically in the body business, right?
Yes.
So we're personal trainers. We spend our life, helping people to build their bodies, to reshape their bodies, to love their bodies, to honor their bodies, to live comfortably in their body, and to take care of their bodies.
Yes.
So we are in the body business. I also thought it would be interesting, because, we talked about men seeing things through a different lens, to also hear, have an opportunity to hear from both perspectives about the subject. In addition to that, we do own a pole dance fitness studio, and I bring that up because I want to make it clear that although I refer to myself as a fitness trainer, really I'm in the business of empowering women. Like, I empower women through movement. And Mike and I we own a pole dance fitness studio, and that's part of that whole empowering of women expressing themselves. And in addition to that, we do Rhythm Rumble. All of that is part of our my way of helping women to empower themselves through movement.
Right.
So, and I want to also add, and this is all relevant, that I'm not conservative. I am not a conservative woman. Anybody who knows me knows that. And so I just kind of wanted to prefix that. Now, I also thought that it would be interesting, Mike and I, to talk about it, because we talked about men and women a lot of times seeing things through a different lens. And so I thought that it would really be interesting to hear, your perspective, Michael, on this as a man in a climate, right, where there's women, in a time of women's rights, and feminism, and freedom of women's freedom to express themselves, etc. Men have been taking a lot of criticism. They're often dismissed. They get a lot of backlash whenever they make comments now and chime in or give their opinion about anything that women do, pretty much that, could be, deemed a little, edgy, right? So I definitely thought that it'd be interesting to have this discussion for those reasons, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about
it, right? So the topic would basically, body positive or over sexualized. Where do we draw the line, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. So Michael, one thing that I noticed, which I found really interesting, is that black men have been very vocal about this. They've been very vocal about this whole issue with Ciara. Now, here's why I find that interesting. I'm looking at them like, okay, now if we go according to the stereotype of men, right? If we go according to the stereotype of men, what's the problem? Woman, naked, banging body, right? You would think that men would be like 100% on board.
All good.
Right, it's all good. But that hasn't been the case, right? We've been hearing a lot of, black men have been speaking out. They've been taking the chance of getting that backlash, from women. Right. They don't care. They're like really bothered, it seems.
Yes.
More bothered than I, would have anticipated. So, I want to ask my first question to you is why are black men so upset about this, about Ciara showing up in this way?
Oh man,
from your perspective.
Yeah, well, it's just so much to say about
we're going to be talking about
issue.
it for a minute, so you ain't going to say it all.
Yeah, I know.
Just try to,
Yeah, I'll try to keep it, short and concise. But let me just say this though.
Yes.
I think that black women should be upset too. But again, we'll talk about that because some are, but it seems like more, as far as what I've seen, aren't as upset as the black men are. Okay. But specifically, black men are looking at it from a community perspective.
Okay.
So a lot of the black women, when they hear black men speak out about this or make their comments about this, they view it as an attack on the woman's freedom, in a sense that men are trying to control women or dictate what a woman does. And that's absolutely not the case. Okay. Men are thinking about it from a community aspect, meaning how does it influence the children at large in the community? How does it present or what perception it gives our community from other communities, i.e., other nationalities, races, and what message does that send out on a national and an international level? Men are thinking to this extent, believe it or not, and it's not just about the the woman per se. We're thinking about the collective,
Right.
the family structure, and the community, the black community as a whole, in terms of our imagery.
Okay.
And we know the negative perceptions already that we fight, the negative perceptions and stereotypes that we already fight. And even if we look at it historically, the black woman has been fighting the perception or the objectivity, objectifying of her body for the longest, you know, being sexually objectified. So it's a number of things, but mainly this is the reason why black men are upset. And I'll speak for myself as an individual, and this is what I'm looking at, you know, this image and what it's, the message that it's sending to the community, especially the kids.
Now, you said something just now that just kind of made me, it just popped in my head, and I'm gonna see if I can phrase it in a way
Okay.
that conveys what I'm thinking. So, you know, I thought about, like, remember when Halle Berry had that like really raunchy sex scene, and she got an award for it.
Yes.
Do you remember that? I
Yes.
forget how many years ago that was, but I was like really bothered by it, and a lot of men were bothered by it too, and black men. But is it almost like, you know, in some kind of way, like I kind of felt like, you know, she's representing us, like, you know, in a very high level way, and that she kind of just threw that all away.
Right.
So do men kind of almost have, and I hope this is coming out right, almost not like a possession. I mean, you understand that she, you know, she's married and we don't know her, but is there almost like, you know, almost like a like she belongs to the community, almost not belongs to the community, but
it's I think it's every
yeah,
so-called race, the men of that race, to protect the women.
right.
And that's just
I love it.
yeah,
See,
yeah.
now you just put it in words that I couldn't.
Yeah,
So
and
there's almost like a protectiveness, even though she's
Absolutely.
not your wife. You
Right.
don't even know her, but just the fact that she's another black woman, there's this feeling of protection.
And what has been
Interesting.
what has been black women, what has been the cry as of late? You know, black women don't feel protected, right?
Right.
So this is part of the protection.
Gotcha. But
It ain't just physically fighting, you know, and defending you.
Right.
Protecting you is protecting your image as well.
Interesting.
And men of other races do that. Like, you couldn't present an Arab woman like that per se, or an Asian woman, without them having a problem with it.
Right.
They would have a real problem with that.
So I just find that really interesting. I thank you for clarifying that. And that's one of those things where, again, you know, men are seeing it through one lens, and, you know, women might be seeing it through another lens. Like, we may see, you're saying, oh no, this is a loving, natural reaction to protect you. You are exposing yourself in a way that, you know,
Yeah.
is really excessive, you know. And I'm saying excessive, that's not even the word that I want to use, but, you know, well, let me not put words in your mouth. My question to you is, what was your genuine, and be honest, when you first saw it, what was your immediate feeling or reaction?
Honestly, I was very just disappointed.
Okay.
Now, don't get me wrong, Ciara has a beautiful body, banging body.
Right.
But in that context, on that stage, I understand. When I was younger, I looked at award shows. Kids look at award shows. And me, as a man, having, you know, concern about the community, which, let me add, it seems that for whatever reason with the empowerment movement, that many women, you know, and I don't use all because absolutes are never correct, but many women have lost sight, in my opinion, of community. So now we've put the women's empowerment movement, they made it all about in my opinion, a selfish, egotistical approach where it's just about my empowerment, no matter what the circumstances or no matter the morality or ethical code that's broken. You know, it's all about empowerment. So my question is, where does the community come in? Where does family and community come in with the empowerment movement? Now, is there no longer concern about the kids? We don't care what the kids think, as long as we get to express ourselves. And whether that expression comes through being naked in public or some other, you know, less than, you know, becoming act, then so be it. It's my empowerment and I'm freedom. So where's the concern for the kids and the community now? So that in my opinion is where the empowerment, I feel like it's gone far, and I think that's where it's gone left.
Okay.
Now, because now many women are not showing any community concern anymore, and that's problematic.
Okay, and I just want to also interject and say I intentionally, I'll chime in, you know, and share my perspective. Again, we have different perspectives, but because, again, we talked about this climate, we talked about the empowerment, you know, the women's empowerment movement, and I prefix this with saying that I dedicate my life to empowering women. So I just want to say that I get that. Right, but balance is important.
Right.
And I think that I intentionally wanted to lead this discussion with your voice, because I do feel like I do see that to some extent, where like some men are just afraid to say anything. It's like we can't say anything,
right?
Like, even if it's wrong. And I think that every voice should be heard. I think that it's important for our men's voice to be heard, whether we like it, whether we don't like it, whether we want to hear it or we don't want to hear it. It needs to be. Things need to be said, and you need to feel comfortable saying it. Right. Now we don't have to agree on everything.
Right.
But we need to create space where both people are heard. It shouldn't just be one-sided.
Yes.
Right. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there to say that I wanted to lead with you giving your opinion, because men can't seem to say anything. Without everybody jumping down their throat, whether it's right or wrong. So I just wanted to say that. So now, what would you say, Michael, to a woman who says, who may say, hey, listen, okay, y'all, men say all of that, they're complaining, but that same man will go to the strip club tonight and to see the same thing Ciara had on or didn't have on, and he'll even pay for it. How hypocritical. What would you say to that?
Well, let me just...
Real talk.
But let me just double back a second and just make one more qualifying comment with the women's empowerment movement.
Okay.
I think at its core, it is a legitimate movement. So I don't want to speak like I don't believe it's a legitimate movement, because there are some things that needed to happen, and black women needed empowerment.
Yes.
However, my thing is, there's a few things, as I said, that are problematic where it's gone left.
And I think that things always need to be checked.
Yes, exactly.
That always happens.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what you're doing. It can be in business, in your personal life, in a relationship. You can always start off with one intention.
Right.
And then that's why you always have to have these checkpoints. Like, okay,
yes.
check in.
Are we still on track?
Are we still on track?
Yes.
So I don't have a problem with that.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with the checking.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm glad that you put that
Right.
interjection in there, that it is a legitimate,
Yeah.
And
So I just wanted to add that as a qualifier,
That's great.
so
Now
people
back to
don't
strip
think.
clubs.
Okay, so yeah, so with the strip clubs, all right.
Right.
Of course, it's context, right? It's in a strip club, so there's no kids in there, right? And it's designed for that purpose. Guys are not going looking for a wife in those clubs. It's an outing. It's quick thrill, if you will. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but there's a different context,
Right,
when it comes to strip club. You're not.
But I do want to bring it up to say, and again, we're not going to discuss, because we don't even have time for that. We want to stay on focus, whether it's right or wrong. But I do want to point out that when men, sometimes women don't take men seriously when they make certain comments about certain things, because they feel like they're hypocrites. Because they may say one thing. I'm just sharing.
Okay, I get that.
Don't get upset.
No, it's not.
Okay,
getting
I'm
upset.
just sharing that is the truth. Just like you're going to say some things that's going to really make me like, wait.
No, the reason I was reacting to that, because I don't think the two are correlated. I don't see the connection between the two.
Well,
between
okay.
someone making a statement with concern for the community versus a strip club.
Okay,
so
well, I'll share
there may be necessarily somebody that does both of those things, but there are a lot of people who don't do both of those
Right.
things. So you can't lump all people together.
Well, we're not lumping,
Uh-huh.
right? Just know that we're not lumping. I'm just sharing with you that, just like you said, that men see things from a different lens and women see things from a different lens. Men can compartmentalize, right? Y'all can say, okay, I'm in a strip club, it don't mean nothing to me, and still say, okay, well, yeah, I do feel this way about this, and it can be legitimate. But a woman can look at that and totally see a connection. We could say, hey, listen, how are you going to talk about protect? I'm going to share with you. I'm just give you an example.
Okay.
A woman can look at that and say, listen, how are you going to say that you want to protect me as a woman, but yet you're in a strip club? That's somebody's child. That's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's sister. That you are, supporting their path, which may not, be a good one. So I'm just sharing.
I get that, and I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but women of all races and nationalities are in strip clubs. White women, black women, Asian women, you name it, they're in strip clubs. What we're talking about when they're going to an Oscars, that's a different ball game, in my opinion. Now you're representing the women in society, or societal image, in my opinion. Everybody understands the stereotypical thought or images of a strip club. But when you're talking about just in society, and someone in Ciara's stature, which is an entertainer, and the image, knowing that there are kids who admire Ciara and who are part of her fans, then to me it's just a different ball game in the message you're projecting, because now everybody, the world, can see you. The world is not looking inside a strip club. The world is looking at the Oscars and seeing what black women look like, as opposed to what women of other nationalities look like. Right. Those other women weren't naked on that stage. Right. So regardless whether people want to accept what happens in reality or not, perceptions matters, and they're our reality. What people perceive, those stereotypes, when they show black men as hustlers and thugs and all those things on movies, well, when those police stop us, those perceptions are in their minds. Yeah. That's why people don't understand how damaging these thug gangster movies are. They look at them, oh, it's just entertainment, it's just entertainment. It's just entertainment to you.
Right.
The world and forgive me for pointing, but the world is looking, those who don't have regular interaction with black people.
Absolutely, I agree.
They are looking at those images, and those images are going into their head, and they're acting and responding to us accordingly.
I agree. Well said. So now I was looking at some of the feeds, and I thought this was really interesting. And I'm curious. I want you to kind of weigh in on this. There was one gentleman, a couple of them, that was saying that, they're just totally desensitized. But like
yes.
there's so much nakedness right now everywhere that he said. He said, is it just me, or is other brothers, are y'all just desensitized to the whole thing? He said, fully clothed women are the new sexy. I thought that was pretty funny, and I want to hear you weigh in on that.
Man, it's funny because a friend of mine, we were having the same discussion, and he was saying the same thing. He said, and I said the same thing. It's so many, asses down your timeline that you just scroll by now because it's not even a fascination anymore. Right. Because you seen one big ass, now they all start to look the same, and it's another big ass. So it's taken the fascination, the intrigue, and all of those things that men found sexy. Right. It's removed all that now, and coincidentally, he said, "Man, I saw a sister in a sundress, and she looked phenomenal."
Right.
Because how sundresses have the silhouette, and she said she was just beautiful. Right. And that is the
positive thing about this.
Yeah, that is, you said, is the new sexy with clothes on. And it's crazy. And I always, I say now, our reality has been like totally flipped on its head. We're living in what, alternate reality now?
Alternate reality. So less so. Men really do appreciate when you leave something up to the imagination.
Yes. There's something to be said about, and it's just, again, it's coming from the old school times when there was a real challenge. Right. That it really made it special. Right. When there was a challenge, and
when you say a challenge, be clear.
Well,
for men.
Yeah,
for what?
When I say challenge, it's not a sense in the word of a contest, but where it took some investment. Okay. In time, resources, dedication, emotion, you name it. There was dating, talking on the phone. Right. There was just all of these things that went into the getting to know each other stage. Right. Before it got to sexual experience. Right. And there was something special about that because, man, you've established that connection. Right. And when you finally, consummate that relationship, it felt special. Right. It felt more special than, meet someone at the club and wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And I'm not saying that didn't happen back in the days, but 9 times out of 10, those didn't last.
So would you say that there's more of an appreciation for that now? Like in retrospect? Is it kind of like a aha moment, like, wow? In other words, were you not appreciating? Did you realize that are you realizing now?
Yes.
You're appreciating it more now.
Yes, you're definitely thinking back and appreciating it more now. But for those who didn't have that experience, they don't have the context or anything to compare it to.
But would you still say that that's still part of a man's nature to go through that process, to need something to shoot for, to want to work towards something?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So regardless of whether these young people today have had that experience or not, you still feel like that's just part of a man's makeup?
Well, I'm sure that there are still women out there who still require that experience.
Yes.
I mean, it may not be as common or prevalent, but
it's still there.
I'm sure that there are some women that, you know, had a good family structure and still require some getting to know me time before you just, you know, jump into bed with someone. So I think those guys who meet those particular women and go through that experience do have more of appreciation for that particular woman versus the ones that, you know, that made it easy for them, you know. So I think, well, that's my opinion. I think they do, they do have more appreciation for it.
So, and then, you know, again, we started this conversation saying, you know, men and women see things through different lenses. I'm a woman, right? So I don't see, I am asking for you to help me understand something.
Okay.
And maybe some other women understand something. Now, again, been looking, you know, hearing different things, different reactions to, you know, a lot of people were just assuming. I've heard things like, you know, it was so disrespectful that she disrespected her husband.
Right.
You know, but I'll be honest with you. I was looking at him and he looked quite comfortable. Like, to me, he looked like he was on board, right? So I guess what I'm trying to understand, and I want you to help me understand, because I don't know whether he was or not, but what are some of the thought process as a man that he could have been thinking about to make him go out in a public setting proudly holding his wife of what, 3 kids they have? I don't know,
3 kids.
Three kids.
3 kids, yes.
And be okay with that. Like, what are some of the possibilities? I'm trying to understand how he processed that. So can you give me some insight?
Honestly, Cheryl, I can't give you any insight on how a man processes that. Now, my opinion or analysis of it is that based on that situation, I don't know if it's that night or overall, he wasn't thinking like a man.
What do you mean by that?
He was thinking like a juvenile that night.
Okay, so clarify
and being okay with that.
Clarify that.
Because an adult, in fact, you know, both were in a juvenile state of mind, and her choosing to wear that and him accepting that she's wearing that.
Let's stick with the man right now. I'll talk about the woman.
Okay, but you know, I'm just gonna say, but a juvenile state of mind where a mature adult married with 3 kids, again, a man is thinking about what perception is this giving off to, number one, their kids.
This is a man.
This is a man.
This is what a man.
This is what a man.
What a man.
This is what
should be thinking.
Yes, what a man should be thinking.
Okay.
The perception of what the kids are thinking, the perception of how he's being viewed as a man of his household, and the disrespect that projects on him that other men are receiving, because other men are looking at that as a disrespect to him and his household. And so he's the thought of the kids, the perception of how that's going to make him look, the community perception, as I mentioned earlier, and the just the thought process of attention seeking. You know, this to me is almost like attention seeking in a man. Like, okay, look at me, fellas, or look what I got. And that to me is a boyish type of.
So you just gave you were talking about what a man should do, and then you added this.
No, Well, I'm talking about
So you're saying that this is
okay,
not,
yeah, I shifted. This is not of
Okay.
of a man.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I shifted
Right.
to
So just
I
clarify.
shifted to the act being a boyish,
Okay.
childlike
so the first
act.
things you talked about,
Yes.
that's how a man would behave.
Yes.
But a child,
Yes.
like thought process would
Right.
be what you just said. Like,
Right.
Look at me. Look at what I have.
Yes.
I know you don't have this.
Yes.
And
So a man wouldn't think
a
like
man
that,
would not
right?
think like that.
So
That's a juvenile
yeah,
thought
it's
process.
it's a very juvenile state of mind, in my opinion, and definitely unbecoming of someone of his stature, an established NFL player with financial wealth, if you will, and just nothing to prove when it comes to just that type of thing. What are you looking for?
Do you think that there's a possibility? I mean, and none of us
Right.
know, but I'm just trying to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that there's a possibility that he was not on board and went along with it anyway?
I mean, that could be a possibility. We don't know because we're not in the household. So,
Right.
but whether he was on board or he wasn't on board, the fact that they came out like that, it still makes him look a certain way. It makes him look weak and juvenile.
Right.
So regardless of, whether him being okay, I'm telling you what society, and it's not just black men.
You know
It's
what, Michael?
all men who are going to look at him like
I'm gonna
that.
tell you something, Mike. I'm gonna tell you why I kind of have to agree with you, because I'm always trying to look at, just trying to look at things from different angles, play devil's advocate, etc. But any way I look at it, it kind of equals the same thing, because even if, all right, if you're saying, I got this trophy, this my wife, I got her, you don't, childish, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you say, okay, well, you know what, I'm not really sure about this, but I'll just go along with it. Not standing up as a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
Showing weakness. If you are saying, oh, well, you know what, honey, regardless, you ready to turn some heads, we're gonna get some likes, or we're gonna be talk of the town, or this is definitely, they say, people are gonna have their opinion, but I tell you what, we about to,
Right,
we
right.
about to light up this internet.
Right.
Childish.
It really is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're going to actually, and again, this is all speculation. It may not be, but something had to go through their mind. One of these things had to go through their mind, or you're just so disconnected. You're so in your own head that you don't,
Right.
you just kind of did it without thinking about any of the consequences. Juvenile. So,
Right.
any way you look at it, it is definitely no legitimate reason if you're looking from a holistic perspective.
Yes.
And from a perspective of, like you said, community and responsibility.
And let me say,
Yes.
even if we are talking about speculation, there's still the perception. That's the reality of what's being perceived by the world
Right.
on that relationship. And what I'm saying from a man's perspective, again, is the men are perceiving him this way.
Right. Yeah.
And as I said, it's not just black men, it's all men.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so got a couple more questions for you. I know I'm hitting you with these questions. I'm loving it though. So my next question to you is, what if a woman is saying, because we're, men are assuming that she's doing it for attention, right? What would you say to a woman who's like, I ain't doing this for your attention, I'm doing this for me. Like, this is something that, and I'll give you an example, right? Like we said, we own a pole dance fitness studio. That's kind of the vibe here, right? Like, a lot of people think that, okay, women who are doing pole dance, that they're doing it for men, or they're doing it for their husband. But the majority of women are really doing it for themselves. Like, they want to feel sexy again, feel a certain way about themselves. They have maybe lost confidence. It's a relationship between that woman and herself. So what would you say to a woman who's like, it's not about you. I'm not doing this for man's attention. I'm doing this because this is something that I want to do for me. What would your response be to that?
Well, I mean, certain activities you can say that and it be legitimate, you know, such as the example you gave with the pole. No, that's legitimate. They're coming to a studio and it's kept private pretty much in here. Like everybody's not looking at you in here. It's just amongst women. However, what we're talking about going to the Oscars like that and or stuff on the internet, or when women go out dressed a certain way, you know, that they could say that is for them, but I'm gonna call BS every time. I'm just gonna call BS. I'm not buying it because it's for the attention. Right. Okay. It's for the attention. Those outfits are.
Okay, so you're saying that that's legitimate. That what I just said, it exists.
Yeah, there's some instances where a certain thing or a certain activity, but going out dressed naked to a nationally and probably internationally televised event, ain't no way you can claim that that's for you. Okay. It's just. All right. So you lose in court every time.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm not going to try to argue that one. But you did say something that brought something to my attention, and we've talked about this in the past. Now, again, this is a conversation we've had a long time ago, and I thought it was interesting.
Right.
Because you were like, you were really upset. You were like, you know, women don't understand. Y'all get mad if we make a comment about you dressing provocative and really or too provocative and drawing, you know, low frequency energy, but yet if you got into a situation, you're going to be looking at us to protect you. You know, so how is it that we don't get to have any say, but yet you're going to look to us to come to your rescue when you put us in these precarious positions? I thought that was an interesting perspective. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's been my, you know, gripe or, you know, banner for a long time that, you know, we live in a twisted world. I mean, you know, there's some crazy people out there, and specifically it's some crazy dudes, you know, and I hear the thing about, well, men should respect this and respect. Yeah, that's right, we should. But the reality is men can't control all men. That's just not going to happen. It's never been so, and it's not going to be so. There's some men out there who are a little bit off. There's some men out there who can't control their urges, and they do things that are, you know, just out of order and just straight up, you know, rude or disrespectful. And so expecting men to go out there and police all men and control all men is just, it's an impossible reality, and it's just something that if you're expecting that, you're out of touch with reality. So the point is, men are looking at it from a safety, defensive, and practical aspect, knowing that if you go out there like this, there's a high possibility or high probability that you're going to draw or attract the wrong type of attention, which can lead to your man having a confrontation that can ultimately get him in trouble, get him hurt, or get him in a situation where he's doing time for hurting somebody else.
Interesting.
So I think, you know, women again, and it has happened, and it continues to happen. And so it goes back to my earlier point that in this empowerment movement, there has to be a check on the egotistical, gender-centric aspect of the movement, where it ain't all about you and what you want to do. You have to start thinking that, okay, this decision, how does it affect the community? How does it affect others around me? How does it affect the men in my life? just have some consciousness about the actions and how do these actions play out.
Fair enough. I agree. So, and we're gonna kind of, I'm gonna share some of my perspectives on it too, from a woman's perspective.
Yes, I'd like to hear your perspective.
I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. But regarding, just one last question, as far as women, so is there a happy medium?
Yes.
Is there a happy medium?
Yes.
I'm not conservative. You know
Yes.
that. I've
Yes.
never been conservative. Anybody who knows me knows that. Yet I don't feel, like I've ever.
Yes.
Let me not speak for you. Here I go again. You can totally speak for yourself. So, is there a happy medium? And when does, is there a difference between sensual and
Right.
to sexual? Do you know what I mean?
So, again, let me just add some clarity or some more qualification to my comments. I'm not saying that women can't dress sexy.
Right.
That's not my thing at all. I think women can and should dress sexy. However, we're at a point nowadays where it seems like there's a race to the bottom for women. I mean, really, because it's gotten that serious where, okay, who can show the most ass and who can show the most breasts without being totally naked? So now we're putting a dot over the nipples. Oh, now, yeah, put a dot over the nipples. Now I can't see. I mean, really? So we're doing that, and then now we're just covering up the front where the whole ass is showing.
I
So
tried to get a bathing suit. We getting ready to take a trip.
yes.
I'm trying to get a bathing suit. I haven't bought a bathing suit, and I don't know. Every bathing suit is a thong now. Like,
Not even regular bathing suits
not even
anymore.
regular bathing suits. So I mean, I really get your point. And listen, we own a pole dance fitness studio. There's all kind of stuff that goes on in here. We'll talk about that in a second. But that's not the point. The point is, it's almost like as a culture, it's like you're being forced. I should still have a choice as to whether I want to wear a thong
As a bathing
as
suit.
a bathing suit. I should at least have that choice. I don't even feel like I have a choice anymore.
I know.
So it is definitely, I think it is definitely, we're definitely in need of some balance.
So, and even at the beach, okay, context, you're at the beach.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay, all right, cool. But when you're going out, in my opinion, to a club or dinner or wherever, to have your whole ass hanging out that's beyond a sexy outfit.
I'm in 1,000% agreement with you, and I'm a woman. Okay, so now, and since you brought it up, let's go there. All right, regarding the context, because that's one of the things that I was going to say. I think part of the challenge that we're having right now is that there's a lot of truths, right? Like these disconnected narratives,
Right.
without context. You can say something that can be true in one context,
Right.
and not true in another context.
Very good point.
I think what is missing right now is context.
Yes.
So allow me to give an example. Okay, so I'll take the example you just used. Beach, right? Beach, bikini, no sweat. Nobody
Right.
tripping.
Right.
It's the beach.
Right.
You take that same woman, that same bikini, to go into up to
mall
school to pick up her 5-year-old.
Right.
Hello? People
Right.
gonna lose their daggone mind.
Right.
Same situation, different context. Okay, so it's all about context.
Yes, good point.
It's all about the context. Now, let's take the same situation with Ciara and the Oscars, right? Context. Now, if and we'll even we can add on to that too. In fact, I will add on to that. I will add on to that. Lizzo. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's one of your pet peeves too. So again, this is an issue of context.
Right.
Lizzo shows up at the game, right? At the game.
At the basketball game.
What does she have on?
She had on basically a G-string.
Okay.
It was it looked to be like, I don't know if it was jeans or something, but nevertheless, her whole ass was out.
Okay, and this is at a basketball.
At a basketball, and she was twerking.
And she was twerking. Okay, so now, here's the deal. We look at asses all day, right?
Yes.
Okay, but again, inside of a pole dance studio, right?
Right.
So this, where we have boundaries. You can't, you have to be a certain age to be in here. There's no men allowed in here. This is, when you go into a step into another person's world, you know what to expect. Okay, that's different, right? Or even if I went into, let's say Lizzo was at her concert.
Right. Or Ciara was at her concert.
If Ciara was at her concert with that on. That's her damn concert. She can wear whatever she wants. If Lizzo was wearing that at her concert, that's her concert. That's her world, right? You just walked into her world. You know what you're going to expect. You walk into our world, you know what to expect. But when you go out into somebody else's, onto a public stage, now you are infringing on other people, right? People that may not have been expecting that. They got to cover their child's eyes. Maybe they got a 15-year-old that they don't want him to see all of that.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So you have to.
Yeah, the actors have kids too.
Actors have kids
who watch those
who
shows.
are watching the shows.
Yes.
You have just now infringed on someone else's, on everybody, actually.
Yes.
There's an unspoken, agreed upon social boundaries that we all kind of follow, right?
Or that we should.
For the most part. And so I think that part of your maturity in being socially responsible and culturally responsible is to be aware and to respect those boundaries. Even though we don't speak about them. And we expect that from grown folks, right?
Yes.
Which kind of leads me to another point, right? Because you wanted to know what my perspective is. And again,
well, can I say something about that Lizzo thing?
Oh, please do. I'm dying to.
Yes.
Please
I wanted to point out just a point of hypocrisy so now that you've mentioned Lizzo, when Lizzo did that, I heard a lot of accusations from women saying that, if that was Beyonce or somebody, Rihanna or somebody with a nice body, y'all wouldn't have anything to say.
Right.
So here we are with Ciara, who again has a beautiful body, and men are still speaking out on it.
That's a very good point, Mike.
So now,
I think the label was that everybody was kind of body shaming.
Yes, it was. It was the body shaming.
And I was like, how did that enter into the discussion?
Yeah.
We're just talking about context.
Right, and that's what it was all about.
You're just in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing in the wrong place. You can do that in the privacy of your home. You can do that on your stage or whatever.
Yes.
But you don't just get to just do that
at a basketball game where there's a lot of kids.
Right, and then say, stop fat shaming. Like, wait, where did that even come from?
Yeah.
So, but this is good. This is a good segue into another, point that I want to make. And can we please take a moment to redefine or clearly define what it means to be grown?
Good point.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Because this isn't just in the Ciara case. This is I've heard this over and over again.
Yes.
People say, "Well, she's a grown ass woman. What she's a grown ass woman. He's a grown ass man. He can do what he wants. Who am I to say blah 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 blah? So I would love to redefine what grown is, because grown to me doesn't mean that you just get to do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, without any regard for consequences,
right,
for how it's affecting people around you,
or any responsibility.
Grown, that doesn't mean grown. In fact, that's just the opposite. That's very childish.
Yeah.
Right? A child thinks like that. A child acts and just does whatever they want, whenever they want, and without understanding or respecting or regarding how it affects people, community, humanity, your neighbor, your family, your children. That's immature behavior.
It is.
That is not grown. How did that become the definition of grown? Somebody's got to explain that to me.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
Grown is just the opposite. You have to be able to discern, and I think that's where I think that's where this whole thing's getting all jumbled up.
Yeah.
We're not clear.
Yeah, they're misrepresenting or misunderstanding the definition. And you said redefine this. I would say just defining, properly defining it, because
It's properly defined.
yeah, people, there's so many bad narratives and childish narratives and that are being propagated now.
But it's not. But it's really not. Well, to me, I don't think that it's necessarily. Well, that is a bad narrative, right? She's grown. She could do what she wants. Again, I think that a lot of things. There's a lot going on. There's things that are being said out of and said that may be true, but it's not being put in the right context. So that makes it untrue and irrelevant. There are things that are being said and nobody's taken the time to really define what it means. So it needs to be clear about what what these definitions mean. Again, people just repeat things a lot without really thinking about it, doing critical thinking, and I think the critical thinking is a skill that we have been losing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
What would you say, because we do want to offer some opinions about helpful, not necessarily solutions, I don't know, but things that can be helpful in bringing some positive outcome or adding some positivity to the discussion.
This. Okay, I will answer that in this way, Michael.
Okay.
You've heard me say this all the time, and this is my thing. I always talk about the black fact, right? And if you haven't heard any other podcasts, what am I talking about? Black people, right? We have a very unique history and a unique path. And until we recognize it and factor it in, we will always be in a state of confusion, right? I forget who we were listening to the other day that was talking about this whole situation with Ciara, and I guess I think he's probably been in some debates with some black women about it, and they were like, well, white women do this and that, and y'all don't say this and that. He's like, you're not white. You're not white, right? So why are you comparing yourself to what white women do?
Right.
And I think that was, that's very true. We have a very unique history, and that really needs to be factored in, and it changes the whole trajectory. We cannot take ourselves and compare ourselves to what other people do.
Especially white women.
Especially white women, they have a whole different reality that they're living. And so when we talk about the black fact in this particular situation, I want to bring up a really, really good book that I think that everybody should read. I don't care who you are, black or white, and anything in between. You need to read this book, but especially no black person should leave this planet without reading this book, Medical Apartheid, right?
Very good book.
Washington.
Yes.
Read that book. In that book, You know, basically it talks, basically the whole book is about, you know, just you know, racism in the whole medical industry. And how it has played such a part in shaping the health industry, the medical industry, and how, you know, black people were used and abused in the whole process of, you know, discovering, you know, medicine, medical cures, etc. But beautiful piece of work, serious research she did in it. But I'm bringing that all up to say, in this book, they talked about, you know, how black women were experimented on, of course, but how they also would say, you know, make it, they were actually putting this in medical books, etc., that as if it was some kind of inherent thing, that we were just over-sexualized, like we were just like these animals who just couldn't get enough, you know. And they were literally legitimizing it as fact and putting it in medical journals, you know, that our body parts were bigger, or this and that, and this is why, and we're just inherently
ravenous sexual
animals that we just can't get enough. And why this is interesting is because, and why it's important to understand this and how it follows us. The slave masters would also utilize this as an excuse, you know, to almost play the victim with, you know, and you know, when it came to them like sexually abusing black women. Well, you know, like, you know, these black women, they're so over sexual, like I just, you know, like I, you know, like like I just had to do it. As twisted as that sounds, now, that same mentality and that same narrative followed black women onto television screens, onto movie screens, as, you know, for roles as prostitutes, always promoted as a prostitute, the Jezebel, the this, the that, you know, all of these, you know, this whole, you know, image has followed us throughout history, all until today. So to my sisters who are saying, oh, you know, I'm just, you know, this is my right, my freedom of expression, I'm just expressing myself, I want to pose a question. How do you know if that's you expressing yourself, or whether that's just you expressing a version or a role that you were programmed to play?
Wow.
Right? How do we know?
Yeah, deep thought.
How do we know?
Deep thought.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Right? So, solution, study your history. Understand, and I'm giving you a book. This book is amazing, right? But when you begin to understand where we, you know, understand where we have come from, understand how, you know, black women have been demonized, understand why, understand the propaganda, the whole, you know, imagery. And I think that when we begin to really study that and understand how that has shaped the images that we see today, then I don't think that, I would hope that we would find bigger things to fight for, you know, as opposed to, you know, just wanting to be
fighting to go out naked,
or, you know, fight to express, you know, how wet our JJ is. Right? Like, I would hope. So, I also want to point out, and I think, again, you know, just understanding the seriousness of this whole freedom of expression. You said it, Michael. At what cost? At what cost? What cost? Let me give you an example. This happened in our studio. Woman comes in our pole dance fitness studios. We have different studios. But our woman comes in, right? Again, you cannot come into our pole studio unless you are at least 18 years of age, right? Minimum. She comes marching in, grown woman, and with her 10-year-old daughter. 10-year-old daughter sits down, she's playing her little games. I'm like, excuse me? You know, she's gonna have to leave. She can't be in here. So, you know, she, you know, her response was very interesting to me because this is the first time I heard this terminology.
Right.
So her, you know, she goes over and tells her daughter, oh, well, you know, you have to go into the car. So her daughter, you know, she's irritated. She's like, why do I have to go? Like, this is so ridiculous. This is a little 10-year-old, 10 years old. She prances out, you know, she's disgusted with our decision. 10. So her mother goes, yeah, how dare I, right? So her mother goes, oh, well, you know, it's. At first she tried to challenge me. No, it's fine because, you know, I teach her to be body positive. That was my first time hearing that terminology. So, you know, I'm like, okay, now why am I sharing this story? It's similar to what you said earlier. There's a whole world out there.
Right.
She's 10.
Right.
I don't care how much you teach her to be body positive. She does not have the bandwidth.
Right.
She does not have the experience. She does not have the ability at 10 to contextualize all of the sexual stuff that is happening in this world.
Exactly.
And when you put that unrealistic expectation on children, you're overstimulating them and you're setting them up. You're setting them up for early, for sexual promiscuity.
Yes.
You're setting them up for teenage pregnancy. You're setting them up for sexual molestation, you know, because they are acting out without understanding the world yet. And you've got sick people out here who will take advantage of that. You have predators who will take advantage of that.
I mean, more and more now with the internet.
More and more now. Yeah. So people, it is up to us as adults. Part of being grown, part of being an adult is having discernment and using that discernment to protect.
Yes.
To protect these young girls, to protect our community, to protect one another. So all of this about, freedom, I should have the freedom to talk about how wet my vajayjay is. Really, that's more important to you?
Right.
Than these children?
Right.
I don't think so. So I think that to answer your question, because I would hope, again, some people may agree, some may not. I don't know what else to say. You know, except there has to be a shift. Definitely. We have to have a shift in our values. Yes. We have to get beyond our own individual immediate gratification. What the hell? Right. That's more important. That's childish. It's childish. It's childish. It's very childish. When you are a mature woman, a woman does not value her quick, immediate gratification over the community, over her children, right? Over, her husband, right? Over her family. So I don't understand this mentality. I'll be honest with you. I don't get it. Yeah. Or doing these things for likes, right? And for approval, and then trying to pass it off as empowerment. As empowerment. Yes. Or what are these other things that people are. So one of the things that I want you to speak to, and then we'll just kind of wrap it all up. You said something really, really good, and I want you to. I hope you can remember what you said because it was very well said. You mentioned how there seems to be a lack of accountability. And that we are masquerading this need, or we're kind of masquerading I don't know.
Well, I said.
How did you put it?
Well, I said that. I said
it?
that the empowerment, quote unquote empowerment movement is being used as a shield for lack of accountability. Yeah, lack of accountability. So now, when it comes time to take accountability, as you said, for the community, now I'm somehow infringing upon a woman's rights if I, as a man, call her to be accountable in, saying something or making an opinion about something such as Ciara's dress. And that's a call for accountability, basically. And so now when a man calls for accountability, whether a woman, whether Ciara at the Oscars or Lizzo at the ball game, so when there's a call for accountability, now it's, you're infringing upon my rights as a woman, or you're taking away from.
It's definitely being abused.
Yeah.
I feel like it's being abused. I feel like, and I think we need to kind of circle back to the fact that, the fight for women's rights and women's empowerment and freedom of expression, all of that is very valid and it is very necessary. Okay, we do want to kind of bring it back to that point, but we have to be honest when it's being abused.
It's not just the point where it's being abused. It has created, and I'll say again, it has created a childish selfishness in many women where, again, it seems no matter what, it becomes all about them. Again, even with this situation, when we talk about why men are saying this, we're thinking from the community and how this affects the community and the standards. But the woman is thinking it's all about her, and you're infringing upon my rights or my freedom to express myself.
Right,
it's not about you. Where does community and family come in with the empowerment movement?
So we have to get back to values. We have to get back to community. We have to get back to
balance. There has to be some balance added to this thing. It's not just about women and women only. Where does family and community come in now? What direction are we moving in if we're just looking out for the interest of one gender? That's a recipe for disaster.
I'm 100% on board. And like I said, and I'll say this again so that we can wrap it up on a high note and on a good note, because I think that we've covered a lot. We've made a lot of good points, some things to think about.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We covered a lot.
And that's what it's for, just to add some conscious thought.
And also, it's just thoughts, right? Things to think of. Everything starts with that.
Yes.
Right? It starts with these conversations. We talked about that in the beginning. We're coming full circle. We have to be willing to have the tough conversations. We have to be willing to do it in a way that is balanced.
Yes.
Right? So I wanted to lead with Mike's perspective, from a man's perspective, because a lot of times women, we speak amongst each other, men, they speak amongst each other, and when we yes each other, and men are yes each other when they get in the presence of man and woman. It's like, wait, what you say? What did you say? And so I think that it's really important for us as men and women to also have these discussions and see it through each other's lens. You're asking for a call to balance, a call to accountability.
Exactly.
Let's get back to family values.
Right.
And those things. You want to say one more thing before we wrap it up?
Yes, before we wrap it up, can we also acknowledge and move away from the ridiculous notion that me as a man can't speak or say anything about a woman's action, and vice versa, you as a woman can't or shouldn't say anything about a man's action. What I'm saying, or what I mean, is that a lot of times when a man speaks on an issue like that, you'll hear a lot of women say, "Oh, this, you know, you can't tell me nothing, you know, or you can't speak on this because you're a man," and that's ridiculous. And because we are community,
right,
and we function as a community,
right.
To say that I can't make a judgment call because it's a woman. It's
well. I first of all, I agree with you. I think that we said that already, but you know.
No, we didn't say that specifically.
But it's okay.
We didn't say that specifically. I just wanted to get that out so we can begin to speak on each other's issues, right. As long as it's in a fair and productive manner. Is right. What I'm saying. As long as it's in a fair, productive manner. But I'm saying let's not come with the energy that, okay, you're a woman, you can't tell me nothing, or
Michael,
I'm a man, you can't, you know.
With that.
Yes.
I 100% agree with you on that. And I'll leave it with an example.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll wrap that point up with an example.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, you and we had our nephew,
mm-hmm.
and we were discussing the issue of the woman's right to choose, right,
mm-hmm.
about abortion. And we knew that he had an opinion about it, but we also knew that he learned that I'm not supposed to say anything.
Right.
So
right.
He, you know, I asked him right up, well, you know, what's your view? He was like, well, I'm a man, so I can't, you know, I don't have an opinion. That's a woman's body, and that's her right to choose. And so I thought that you gave him a really good answer, and you pretty much validated. You're like, well, but you know, if you have an opinion about something, you know, just because you're a man and it's a woman's issue doesn't mean that you don't have a right to speak about it. This is still a child that a man helped to bring into, you know, helped to create.
Right, absolutely.
Don't be afraid to speak, especially if you feel, you know, like this is something that is, you know, your feeling, whether it's right or wrong. Don't be afraid to say. But it was funny because he was shutting himself up, mm-hmm. and shutting himself down, like somewhere along the line I was told that I can't speak about this. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think you made it, you said it right. As long as it's done respectfully, tastefully, and you know,
and as long as you can support your position.
Yeah. And that's another thing. You like, yeah. Make sure you can support your position.
Right.
But you don't have to silence yourself.
Exactly.
Just because, you know, you're a man. And I have to agree with that. I think that's really good. But anyway, I think that we talked about a lot.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Hopefully everybody got something from it. And I also want to say that, you know, Michael and I, we are about community, always have been, right?
Community.
So, you know, this is just an extension of that.
Right.
And so we want to hear your comments. Like, if there's something that we said that you agree or disagree with, whether you're a guy or a woman, bring it.
Yes. Please share your thoughts in the comments.
Please share, because you know, we don't have all the answers.
Right.
We're just sharing food for thought, another perspective. Mm-hmm. We want to hear yours too. We want this to be, you know, a community platform where people are sharing, and as long as we're respectful, it's all good. It's all good.
That's right.
So on that note,
yes,
we do ask that you Mike?
Like, share, and subscribe.
And yes, like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
To all of the above. Mm-hmm. I know. Don't be like me. Sometimes I'll listen to a whole podcast. Like, oh, that was good.
Right.
Then I forget to subscribe.
Right.
Don't do that. You know, make sure that you subscribe.
Yes.
Do all of that.
And like.
And make
mm-hmm.
sure you like.
Yes.
Oh my God, I
yes.
do that too. And so, So
mm-hmm.
on that note, this has been another episode of The Conscious Couple. I'm Cheryl Jones.
And I'm Mike Jones.
And we will see you next time.
All right. Peace and blessings, family.
All right. Peace and blessings.